No one can say exactly when it started. Not because it was hidden, but because it was ordinary. It began the way most things do, quietly. A small shift in behavior. A subtle change in rhythm. A new normal that didn't feel dangerous enough to question. People still woke up, still worked, still laughed, loved, and slept. But something underneath had changed. The world became faster, louder, and strangely hollow. Information multiplied while meaning dissolved. Answers were everywhere, yet clarity was rare. And slowly, without noticing, people stopped listening to themselves. They called it progress. What they didn't see was that the system didn't need chains anymore. It only needed attention. The system, whatever name you give it, never ruled through force. That was outdated, inefficient. Violence created resistance. Resistance created awareness. So it evolved. It learned to shape desire instead of behavior, to guide emotion instead of thought, to influence without appearing to exist. It learned that the most effective prison is one where the door is open and no one tries to leave. People were not controlled by orders, but by options. Endless options. Endless noise. Endless stimulation. Every moment filled. Every silence avoided. And in that constant motion, something essential was lost. Reflection. Stillness. The ability to sit with an uncomfortable thought without drowning it in distraction. Slowly, people forgot how to listen to themselves. They confused motion with progress, consumption with purpose, reaction with awareness. And then something stranger happened. People began to feel tired in a way sleep couldn't fix. Not physically, existentially. A deep fatigue that came from constantly reacting to a world designed to pull attention outward while never allowing it to return inward. They felt watched, not by eyes, but by expectations, by metrics, by invisible standards they could never fully meet. Not oppressed, optimized. That was the genius of it. No enemies, no dictators, just systems refining behavior, one interaction at a time. And then, quietly, something broke. Not a revolution, not an uprising, a hesitation. A few people began to notice the pattern, not through evidence or conspiracy, but through awareness. They noticed how often their thoughts weren't really theirs, how quickly emotions were triggered on command, how rarely silence was allowed to exist. They asked questions that didn't fit neatly into feeds or debates. Why do I feel anxious when I'm not doing anything? Why does rest feel wrong? Why does stillness feel dangerous? And in those questions, something old resurfaced. Not truth, not rebellion, but presence. The moment someone becomes present, truly present, the system loses its grip, because presence can't be predicted. It can't be optimized. It can't be monetized. Presence interrupts patterns. That's why it feels uncomfortable. That's why it feels lonely at first. That's why it feels like standing outside of something massive and invisible. This is where the myth of the cabal was born. Not as a group of people, not as a secret organization, but as a symbol for the invisible structures that shape behavior, for the habits we inherit without choosing, for the stories we believe without questioning. The cabal isn't out there. It exists wherever awareness goes to sleep, and it weakens every time someone wakes up. Not loudly, not dramatically, but quietly, internally, individually. There is no final battle, no moment of revelation broadcast to the world. There is only this: a person pausing, breathing, thinking, and choosing for the first time not to be pulled by every signal. That is how it begins. Not with revolution, but with awareness. And that is why it's the only thing the system can't survive.